Welcome to Where You're At, a podcast that highlights the work of alumni from the Journalism and Media Studies Department at San Diego State University. I'm Pete Frank Williams. Our goal is to share the success of alums, inspire current students with these stories, and connect students and alums for mentoring. And now, here's your host, Josh Suchon.
This week on Where You At, we are going to Manila. Yes, we are going out to the Philippines this week because we started this podcast with the title Where You At, and we knew that San Diego State alums were making us proud all over the United States. And now we know that they are making us proud all around the world. Our guest this week is Vince Golangco. He has been in the Philippines for at least 13 years. He is the CEO and founder of the website wininmanila.com. Perfect name for a website. It gets millions of views throughout the year. He went to school at San Diego State, and I cannot wait to find out how he ended up in Manila. Vince, welcome to the Where You At podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. And I'm very, very excited because, as I was saying earlier, I don't get to talk to a lot of people here in the Philippines about SDSU, and I have such fond memories, amazing memories of both San Diego and San Diego State.
And it's really cool about even how I'm talking to Vince, because podcast began, I never knew that Vince existed. The department sent out an email to alums letting them know about this podcast. Vince saw it in the Philippines, and he was like, hey, I want to be involved in my alma mater. So he got in touch with Temple Northrop. Temple shared that with me, and now here we are speaking via Zoom across the globe and trying to figure out our time zones.
Yeah, it's a bit trickier than we thought.
Okay, so let's get to it. How did you end up at San Diego State, and then how did you end up in the Philippines?
Yeah, so that part alone is already a bit crazy. I was born in Texas, but I never grew up there, never lived there, so know nothing of the Texan culture or anything. Moved to the Philippines when I was younger. School wasn't for me just because I didn't know, but I had ADHD, so I wasn't good at concentrating. Although I guess I've always been creative. I've always wanted to find creative ways to do things. So I dropped out of school. Eventually, my uncle in the U.S., because I was born in the U.S., offered me a place to stay in California, in Eagle Rock. I moved with him, and as a teenager who dropped out of high school, I was bored, didn't know what to do. I was working at Burger King, and my friends then, I was about 17, they were like, hey, we're joining the military, the Navy. Do you want to join? And I was like, are you crazy? You're going to die. Just initial impressions of the military as a teenager. I was like, you're going to die. And I was working at the mall in California at Mervyn's. I don't know if that's still around.
I remember Mervyn's.
And they promoted me as a 17-year-old. They promoted me to like assistant manager or something because I was just doing so well. I was like selling credit cards. They really like it when you give people credit cards at the mall because they come back more often. And I was doing so well with that. And when they did that, I was thinking, oh my God, am I going to be a mall manager? Is that my career? Is that my life? A high school dropout mall manager? Like I got depressed. I got sad when they promoted me. So that's when I just like, you know what? Sure. My friends are talking to this military guy, recruiter. I'll talk to them. And man, those recruiters suck you in. Anything you want to hear. So as a 17-year-old, 17, 18, the recruiter was like, hey, you see this laptop? Navy just gave it to me. I have 3. You see the car outside? Navy gave it to me. My apartment? Navy pays for. You want girls? Every port we hit, girls. I'm like, sign me up. Where do I sign? And yeah, I guess part of it was true, but you know, they do sell it. So that's the funny thing is I dropped out of, I quit my mall job, joined the military. It wasn't for me because it's super corporate. It's corporate to the extreme. If it's dark in the room, I like using this analogy, but if it's dark in the room, instead of turning on the lights, you have to write a request. You have to have your superior approve it. His superior approves it. It's just maximum corporate. I'm a creative, which I know now. I didn't know then. So it wasn't for me. After my 4 years, I got out. The good thing is I was stationed in San Diego, 32nd Street, and fell in love with San Diego. When I got out, I wanted to stay in San Diego. And the good thing about joining the military is they pay for your college. So I went to a community college. I started out at San Diego Mesa, and then fortunately was able to transfer to San Diego State. Started with, I was going for, I still didn't know what to do with my life back then. So I was just going for a generic business administration degree. I thought for me, that was the most generic. But then it had a lot of math, and I hate finance and accounting and all that. So then I switched to what I thought wasn't a real degree. For me, I thought communication sounded, to me, for lack of a better term, it sounded, I don't know if mundane or even stupid, to where, why would you study communication? Everyone talks. It's such a simple thing. Who studies communication? But then it had the classes I sort of wanted, and it felt easier than business. So then I jumped into it, and I didn't find out till years later that communication was my strength, which is why for me it was so easy that I couldn't understand why would people study this. But yeah, it was thanks to all my experiences at SDSU.
So you did writing at the Daily Aztec. I see you were blogging back when blogging was first taking off. You've been a host, you've been a DJ, you've done a wide variety of things. Now tell us what led you to move back to the Philippines and start what you're doing now.
So what happened was when I graduated, roughly 2008, I believe, the U.S. was going through a terrible depression. Everyone was miserable. Yeah, everyone was miserable. Everyone was losing jobs. No one was hiring. I just graduated. I wasn't sure what to do. And I was looking at my friends, my friends who graduated with me, before me, a year before me or whatnot, and they weren't happy. At the same time, they were in debt. Everyone, because in the US, if you have to support yourself going through college, you're in crazy debt. You get all these college loans. But for me, since the military paid for my college, I wasn't. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I go in debt? I'll just charge everything to my credit card and travel the world. I felt left out. I guess there's FOMO there. I don't know why I was thinking then. I'm just like, I guess I can afford it. I guess I can go in debt since everyone's in debt. So I decided to travel the world to sort of, I guess, also soul search. I guess I was going through a quarter life crisis. Since I grew up, I spent some time in the Philippines when I was much younger, and I had family here. It was sort of going to be my home base. I was going to come to the Philippines and then travel from the Philippines to the other different countries around. So it included like Asian countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Hong Kong, etc. And then also towards Australia. I also traveled towards Australia and New Zealand. So I was doing a lot of traveling to discover myself, to figure out what I wanted to do in life, and to catch up to the debt my friends were in, which I really don't know why I did that. And blogging was already a common thing in the US. I had like 5 blogs, I think, just for different things. I had like a daily motivational blog for myself. I had my own personal blog, just whatever happens. I had a blog where I was like goofing off, trying to be funny. I just had blogs. I liked writing. And when I came here, I started a new one. So when in Manila, do as the people in Manila do as Filipinos do. Coming from the saying, when in Rome, do as Romans do. So in the Philippines, there's no Yelp. It never took off here. So back then, you know what? Do people still use Yelp now?
Oh yeah. I use Yelp all the time.
Oh, great. Okay, so here it never blew up here. So anytime, especially back then, when you search for something, no Yelp comes up. So Google automatically sends all these blogs up high because, hey, Google needed this content. This was even before social media. So if you wanted to check out a restaurant, you had to search it up on Google, and it depends what blogs come out. And I found the middle ground where I found a way to write decent writing plus great SEO. Back then, the people who were doing blogs, they were either really good at SEO, these techie people who figured out the whole SEO thing, the search engine optimization thing, but they weren't great writers. So you'd find their site, but it's not really what you're looking for. So then people don't really come back. Or these really amazing award-winning writers, old school writers, but they didn't understand SEO. So they weren't able to, whatever content they put out back then wasn't found. So I found the middle ground. And from the start, the blog took off, and eventually it got to the point where brands were approaching me. At first, it was all freebies. It's like, hey, come to my event, we'll give you free clothes. Hey, come to my event, you get shoes, you get this, that. So as a 20-year-old, I was like, oh my God, no one ever gave me free stuff in the US. So okay, I'll do that. And then I got to the point where I got invited to so many things. And I remember it was New Year, one of the years, and there were multiple big brand parties. And I was starting to turn them down, like, sorry, I can't go to your event because I'm going to this one. Sorry, I can't go. And one brand in particular, Coca-Cola here, said, no, Vince, you're coming to our event. We're going to pay you, and you're going to hang out with this A-lister celebrity there who's going to be also our ambassadress. So then I was like, oh my God, I guess this can be a business. And slowly, that's what turned wheninmanila.com into somewhat of into a business. And I have about 15 people working with me now, and we're one of the biggest. We are the biggest online magazine and blog here in the Philippines.
I think this story is so interesting on multiple levels, and the part that I want to focus on next, because this is the first thing that comes to my mind, is how much you need to be understanding of business when you're a journalist, whether you're writing about business or whether you're creating your own, because all media outlets are owned by somebody, right? Whether that's a mom and pop family, which is really, really rare nowadays, whether it's a huge media conglomeration, which is enormous these days, or whether it's you. And so I'm wondering if you can speak of just the process of what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it means to be a journalist in what you do these days.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, it's all about finding a need in the market and solving that problem, finding that problem in the market, in the business world, in the real world, and solving it. And those are usually the businesses that do best. I didn't know I was an entrepreneur back then. I really didn't know what I was doing, but it was just, I guess I just had this gung-ho attitude to where when I say I'm going to do this, I go all out on it. And back then it was like, hey, this blog is doing well. Me writing, I get all these views, all these comments. And then at first it was still for fun. So I still had a day job when I was here just to help pay the bills and all that. But eventually the blog took off from there. And I was like, oh, hey, I think this is a real thing. So I think for me, as an entrepreneur, it's always been the drive. Your hard work always outweighs talent or a lot of other things. So for me, it's a drive. As a journalist, I sometimes I don't even like calling myself a journalist, because there was a point where there were gatekeeper journalists who was like, oh no, bloggers aren't journalists, and now it's still happening now to where are influencers really media? Are they really? So for me, I'm a content creator. So I can't speak as far as journalists if you're going to write for a publication, for a newspaper, for whatnot, because even my team, we consider ourselves content creators. We create content. They're very light lifestyle. We don't do heavy news. So for me, if you're creating content nowadays, it's more about being more authentic and real rather than having all this jargon in it. And that's usually what's doing well more for us.
If you had to guess, and you might even know the exact number, but if you had to guess, what percentage do you think your views come from people who live in Manila, and what percentage are tourist visitors who are coming to Manila?
For us, depends on the month, but about 80 to 90, some months 95% are local.
Really?
Because locally, a lot of people are travelers. Mm-hmm. Local meaning also people, expats who live here. Unfortunately, in the Southeast Asian market, Philippines is one of the smaller, as far as tourism goes. We're one of the smaller. We're one of the best, one of the most beautiful, but unfortunately one of the smaller destinations compared to the others, just because we are detached. Mm-hmm. Meaning we're an island, we're an archipelago, so we're islands of our own. You have to make a trip specifically out here, rather than, hey, I can go to Vietnam and then I can walk over to Thailand and walk over to. So usually they go for that Southeast Asian area where they're connected to each other, and they hit up 3, 4, 5 countries at a time. Sadly for us, we're detached, so you have to specifically make an expensive flight over. And for a lot of backpackers, it's a bit, expensive. So tourism-wise, we're not the number one destination, but the people who do come here, they love it, and a lot of them stay.
Well, whenever you say the word content creation, that immediately perks up college students. Like, ooh, because everyone wants to be a content creator. So for you and those who are on your staff, how do you brainstorm ideas? How do you come up with authentic content that is going to resonate with people? Do you have a process? Is there some sort of collaboration where you guys have meetings? Where do you guys come up with your ideas to keep it fresh?
We have sort of a small checklist that we check on our own. one is it trending right now? So we try to go on relevant things. But the biggest checklist that brands and other people have a hard time doing is they try to edit content way too much to where it doesn't look authentic anymore. It looks very professional, but then it doesn't look authentic. And nowadays people are shying away from that because it kind of looks fake. So for us, one of the number one questions we ask after we create content is, if you have to take yourself out of the content. And if you yourself, you read this on a different site, even on a competitor site, even on someone you don't like, maybe another content creator you don't like, if you read it on their page, on their site, on their social media, would you like, comment, or share that post? If the answer is yes, then you're going the right way because you yourself would share it. But if the answer is no, I wouldn't share this, I wouldn't like this, I would scroll away, then most likely other people will do the same thing. So we tell them to revise that. Like if your first sentence already sounds like an ad, then it's sort of like, hey, you got to redo that. You got to make it more real and something that you yourself would see somewhere else on a different site and you would read.
I think that being totally honest with your audience is really important, no matter what it is that you're doing. So we have totally different, even though we both work in this general communications field. I work in minor league baseball. I do play-by-play announcing for baseball. And I remember
nice.
there was this college student. He was doing it was like a summer baseball league. It was on Cape Cod. And he asked me, well, what happens when I can't see what's happening? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, the press box is really tiny. And the way that it's configured, once the guy runs down the left field line, he escapes out of my view and I can't see him. So I don't know what's happening. He goes, what do I say? And I told him, be honest. Tell the audience, describe, say, Golangco is running into the left field corner. He disappeared from my view and I'm looking at the umpire, or it appears like whatever might be the case. Just be honest with the audience. He disappeared from my view. And so again, whether it's baseball, whether it's content creation, whether you're writing a story for the Associated Press, just be honest with the audience at all times, even if it's like almost over the top honesty.
That's actually really good insight, and I might use that in my future talks. But that's exactly what the audience today wants. Is they would rather hear that you saying like, yeah, disappeared from my view, I'm not sure, but the umpire's doing this, so I'm assuming that this rather than you completely making something up. And it's a lot of times people can tell you're BSing,
right?
So yes, exactly. That's the type of content people want now. It's just more authentic, real, true content.
It's time for a quick break from this week's podcast. I'm Amy J. Smith from the class of '98, and I'm a voiceover artist based in Los Angeles. I'm available for film narration, radio and TV commercials, documentaries, how-to explainer videos, and much more. You can contact me at amyvo.com. And now, back to this week's podcast. Here's Josh.
Tell us more about Manila. You started to say how difficult it is to get there, especially if you're a backpacker. But what should people in what should people in the United States know about Manila?
Oh, the Philippines is one of the most beautiful countries. In fact, we often depends on what ranking you look at. We often have the number one ranked beach in the world. It's Boracay. It is one of the most beautiful, powdery, soft, white sand beaches with clear blue waters. We have we have also Palawan, another island that has this this very long underground cave that's really beautiful. Quite a few islands here. We have rising surf culture in Siargao down south. I love visiting the different islands here because each island has a different dish specialty that's so good. In Manila, it's the sort of the capital, the very businessy little bubble, and here there's so much shopping. So yeah, there's still a lot to do, and the Philippines is definitely one of the best places to visit. So definitely do come here, check out my site, webmanila.com, or reach out to me and I'd love to give you some recommendations as well.
When you tell people that you went to school at San Diego State, I don't know how often those conversations even come up, but what do people in Manila or the Philippines think about San Diego?
Well, so not a lot of people know. The people who travel, of course, they know and they love it. It's They always talk about the surf there, or as a nice quiet place. It's a nice little retirement place or military place. The people not familiar with it, the best way I describe it, well, San Diego State is because the Philippines is a big basketball country. For whatever reason. I don't, because America took over the Philippines a long time ago in our history. So I guess they brought basketball back then. So we're a big basketball country, even though we're very short as a people. But we love basketball so much. So I often just say, hey, it's where Kawhi Leonard went to school. That's the best way I can describe San Diego State to a normal Filipino.
Kawhi Leonard, he's just the Kawhi Leonard factor just continues to bring us greatness. I love it. I just say, hey, I went to the same place that Kawhi Leonard's from. That's awesome.
Pretty much. I'm hoping we get more. I'm hoping we get more in the future where we can say this player went there, this guy went there. So hoping for more.
What would be your advice for students, or even someone who's no longer a student? They're going through their own quarter life crisis, and they're thinking maybe it's time for me to go into massive debt and travel around the world, or maybe
no, do not do that.
Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe they just think, let me see if I can travel and do something. What's your advice to people who are just thinking about taking this plunge of moving to another country and seeing if they can create something, start something on their own?
Well, I guess for me, let me split that up first. Because for students, I have specific advice, because I remember when I went to a community college, it's a very different culture at a community college. But of course, me not graduating high school, I had to go through a community college, and it's very different there to where, for me, I didn't meet a lot of people. I don't know for other people, their experiences there, but for me, because a lot of people there have work, have day jobs, multiple jobs they're supporting, or have their own reasons why they weren't able to go direct into university. So after class, it's straight home. And after 2 years of community college, I was like, when I was about to transfer to SDSU, I was like, you know what? I don't have any friends. I didn't really make any good friends that I can call and hang out with. And I was pretty bummed and sad about that. I think I had 2 jobs back then when I was going to community college. I had a couple of jobs and school. And I was trying to keep my grades up. So I was studying when I was off. So I did not get a lot of friends. I was really sad about that. When I went to SDSU, I made a commitment to myself that I would join every org I could find. And that's where I feel like my life really changed, because a few of the orgs, I joined a lot. I joined a cultural org, like a Filipino org. I forgot. I joined an advertising org because I was in advertising. I joined, I forgot what else, but I joined quite a few. I think at least 10, if not more. And but I wasn't as active in all of them. Eventually, I some of them I sort of put to the side and did attend a lot of events. But that's where I started meeting people. And one org that I really liked was a business fraternity. It was Alpha Kappa Psi, and I feel like that really helped change me into who I am without knowing it was going to. The difference between a business fraternity, well, this was a co-ed, so it had guys and girls, co-ed business fraternity. They kept the term fraternity just for tradition because it was a fraternity, but which I feel like they should just change the term, but oh well. But they call it a co-ed fraternity, so it has boys and girls. And a business fraternity, to join, the pledging process has you do businessy stuff. So we had to put together a business plan. We had to put together a community service event and raise funds for it. We had to prepare PowerPoint presentations. We had to prepare our LinkedIn profile. So it really taught me a lot about business. And when I was joining, they also said, hey, there are positions for the pledge class. You guys should, if you want to run on the first day of the actual meeting, you'll have to give a speech. And I was like, I took a speech class, part of communication, and I thought I was told I was really good at it. I got an A in the class. I'm like, I just want to give a speech. I'll give a speech. And although I've never taken a leadership position in my life, I didn't know what it was to be a leader. I was always the black sheep kid in the back, goofing off, not caring. And then when I joined, because I made that commitment, I want to meet more people, I want to be more involved. I think that's when I was like, you know what? Sure, I want to give a speech. I'll run for president. I did it. And I was so overwhelmed because the second I won, they gave me all the list of things that our pledge class had to accomplish. That community service event, that PowerPoint presentations every week, all these business things. And I was like, I was so overwhelmed. Like, how do I don't know how to do any of these. And fortunately, with the vice president, we had different vice presidents who were helping out. We had a meeting. And I just eventually just realized, hey, you don't have to look at everything you need to do this whole semester and be overwhelmed. You just have to take it one day at a time. And when I did that, and after the whole process, that's where I really learned leadership and made new friends. And I was like, oh my God. It was one of my best experiences at San Diego State, is making all those friends from that org because I got involved. So for students, I highly recommend get involved in whatever org, whatever something, sports, organization, something. Of course, again, I joined Alpha Kappa Psi. It's a business fraternity. I recommend that. But any org should be fine. Be really involved, and you'll make friends. You'll make lifelong friends. You'll learn skills. You'll do cool things.
And those things that you did in college at that business fraternity, those are things you're doing in your life right now. Like, and so you probably didn't even realize it at the time, but it was absolutely preparing you to do what you ultimately do right now.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I'm overwhelmed and I feel like I'm not going far or accomplishing things with my life, there's this one quote I go back to is, don't judge each day by the fruits that you harvest. Instead, judge each day by the seeds that you plant.
Ooh.
So meaning you joining this small organization or making a new friend or practicing your resume writing skills, whatever it might be, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you're going to be a CEO or you're going to make millions somewhere. But as long as every day you're planting a seed, you never know what that seed might blossom into. So just in college, don't get overwhelmed with thinking, oh, I want to retire when I'm 35. I want to have my own company at this age. It's all way too much to look at. Just take it one day at a time and just plant one seed every day that might grow into something in the future.
Okay, the second part of this that we're dividing up this advice is for those who maybe have graduated from college or they're thinking about taking this plunge, moving to another country. Maybe it's just moving to another state. What's your advice on, because it can be scary, it can be exciting, but it can be scary, the idea of moving somewhere. What's your advice for people who might be thinking of making this big move with their life?
Do it. Well, without going in debt. If you can. Do one thing every day that scares you. It's another quote. I love quotes. And then is it Robert Frost, the poem? Two roads diverge in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. So I always believe, especially when you're younger, is to take the harder route with the possibly better or bigger reward at the end. So going out of your comfort zone, every entrepreneur will tell you that is good for you in the long run, that you will grow from that rather than staying in your comfort zone. So going to a different country will trigger different things in you. Going to a different place, a different state will trigger things where you meet new people. It might trigger a new idea. It might inspire you to try something new. At the same time, the experiences you had from that other place might help you stand out or bring something different to the table to that new place you went to. So highly recommend. I do. If you've never traveled, even not move, just travel. I recommend as a young person, always travel once by yourself to a country that doesn't speak your language, because there you'll really discover, it'll really change your outlook in the world. But if you're doing it to move and take a gamble and try something new, I feel like the worst thing that would happen, as long as you do positive things, you do legal, positive, happy things, the worst thing that'll happen is you'll learn great things, make new friends, and it might not work out, but you'll leave with amazing experiences, amazing new friends, and great experience that you can take to your next step in your life.
I want to second your recommendation about travel by yourself to a place in which they don't speak your language. And because I know that I did that through Europe, I traveled by myself with a backpack. I also did it a little bit, a second way when I went to Brazil. And I want to use this as a good segue because each week I try to brag about a different San Diego State alum. And so I want to brag this week about my friend Gabe Elizondo. Gabe is a fascinating story because he didn't major in journalism yet. We met at the Daily Aztec, and he was international conflict resolution was his major. He ended up going to the University of Denver to get his master's. He worked at a TV station in Denver. Then he got hired by Al Jazeera English, and he moved to Brazil, and he spent a decade working in Brazil. and I wanted to go out to see my friend. And so I kind of traveled around a little bit solo. I had some time that I spent with another friend from America. And then there's time that I spent with Gabe and with his wife, Maria. And, not knowing the language at all is very difficult, but it's also very humbling. And one of the things that I respect most about Gabe is that he lived in Sao Paulo. And I remember saying, why don't you live in Rio de Janeiro? Like, why not just live at the beach at Copacabana, at these beautiful places? And he said, that's exactly what I don't want people to think. I don't want people thinking that I'm just having a good time, that I'm at the beach, and that I'm just kind of casually doing work. I want people to know that I'm doing real journalism. And that's why he lived in Sao Paulo. It's also where like the banking industry was. And so I'm just really proud of Gabe. He's been back in the United States now for about 6 or 7 years, but some of the stories that he did were just incredible, where he would just find these remote villages in Brazil where they don't even know that the internet exists. And he would do stories about their way of life, in addition to doing like all of these other stories. And, Gabe was another guy. I kind of see a little bit of Gabe in you, Vince, and that he was willing to take this plunge. He was always the type that wanted to go travel and see something new by himself or with friends. And he turned out to have these incredible life experiences by willing to do that.
Well, looking forward to that podcast with him.
Yeah,
I'll listen to that one.
We'll definitely get him on. What's next for you? What's next for When in Manila? How long do you want to keep doing this? What are the new goals that you want to do?
Well, I love it so much because it's pretty much, I get to experience I get invited to all these crazy, cool, fun events, places. So I'm enjoying it so much where I can just go somewhere, have fun, and just share my story about it. It's easy for me to write about it or to share a quick video story about it. So for me, it doesn't even feel like work. So I feel so spoiled. I don't complain with what I do. So I'm going to keep trying to expand to other countries. So right now we have our first other country where we're doing WIM in Thailand, where it's When in Manila in Thailand, but because When in Thailand's taken, and When in a lot of other places, and some of them took it from us. Actually, I do have friends who say, "Hey, other bloggers from other countries, like, hey, we're making our own When in this." Mm-hmm. So it's a common phrase. So a lot of those words are taken on social. So we're doing WIM in Thailand now, where we're going to be featuring Thailand and hopefully to expand more to other countries, maybe one day over there in the US, but trying to expand right now.
Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So if they're taking your idea, that means you're doing something really well, and you are, Vince. So that's really cool.
Thank you.
Final thought for people who are maybe thinking, maybe I need to go to Manila. How do they get in touch with you? What should they know if they're thinking about maybe going over there?
Well, check out wheninmanila.com or our socials. We're everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at When in Manila. Or you can find me directly at Vince Golangco. Just say you're from SDSU, so I'll try to sneak in a dinner or something with you, schedule permitting. But yeah, so much to do here in the Philippines. The beaches are definitely number one. The food is amazing. And the people, if you're coming from the US, one of the big perks of coming to the Philippines is they speak English. So if it's a relatively hassle-free trip, if you're not really doing that travel to a different country where they don't speak your language thing, soul searching, if you're just sort of like want something fun, something cool to do, then the Philippines is a great place. But if you want somewhere they don't speak English, there are islands where they don't speak a lot of English that you still can lose yourself in that culture. So over 7,000 islands here. For sure, there's one island that fits you.
I love it. This is so great, Vince. I'm so glad that we can share about what San Diego State alums are doing, not just in the United States, but all over the world. So I'm so glad that we got to connect and get to know you. And again, this was the whole point of this podcast was for us to learn about where all of our alums are and all the crazy things that they're doing and hearing about their journeys. Your story is really neat. Thank you for sharing your journey with us.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to hear what the other alums are doing as well. I'd love to collab somehow, work with the other alums. So please reach out to me if you guys see a way we can work together, or if you have a business that you want featured to our market. We have a big Filipino following, locally and globally, internationally, where they're Filipinos. A lot of them read our site.
Aztecs doing business with Aztecs. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I want to hear. All right, Vince, be good. Continue to stay in touch with us. And once again, thanks for joining us.
Will do. Thank you, Josh.
Again, this is the Where You At podcast. And so we want to remind students, get in touch with the different people who you've heard on this podcast. Reach out to them. They like to talk about themselves. Trust me. We all like to talk about ourselves. And for you alums, mentor, give back, find a way to get involved with the university. Tell us your stories. Tell us the stories of your friends so that we can brag about all the wonderful things that Aztecs are doing. I'm your host, Josh Suchon. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Where You At podcast. This is Amy J. Smith from the class of 98. Thanks to Martine Marine for creating the music you're hearing right now, and Alex Piscatelli for her work on the podcast name and the artwork on social media. And a reminder to SDSU alums, we really want to know, where you at? Tell us about your career. Get involved in the department. You can donate your time or your money. You can mentor students. You can speak in the classroom, in person or Zoom. You can provide internship opportunities to students. Help us grow the department. Again, thanks for listening. Subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. Recommend us a future guest. And go Aztecs!